now when you're getting rejections every single here and there, right? वो जो फीडबैक वाला लूप था कि मैं इम्प्रूव क्या करूँ, मेरे पास कुछ है ही नहीं ना, मेरे पास कुछ मैट्रिक्स ही नहीं इम्प्रूव करने के लिए. सो हैव यू फिगर आउट दैट मैट्रिक्स कि वो मेरे में क्या कमी आ रही है, मैं क्यों नहीं कर पा रहा इतना सब कुछ होने के बाद भी.
Yes, so in my case, again this varies case to case. It was very clear because of the structured process of campus.
अच्छा,
मेरे लिए बहुत क्लियर था कि बच्चे कैट का प्रेप कर रहे थे और मेरा प्रेप was just not up to the mark.
ओके,
तो मैं वो फर्स्ट राउंड ही कट ऑफ का क्लियर हुआ था. And GPA was also not above 8. So there's always an internal cutoff for these companies.
Correct.
एक होता है external cutoff कि 7 होगा, but internally they have an intra-merit rank list. I would never be in the top 10 percentile or 50 percentile.
अच्छा, वो चांस ही नहीं मिला अपने आप को दिखाने का.
And मेरी भी गलती थी that I never really prepped for APSI enough. I was more on the rounding out my profile.
Hey guys, my name is Ritik और आज हम आए हैं गुड़गांव में राज के पास जो है प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर स्प्रिंकलर में, एंड उनके स्टोरी के बारे में जानेंगे एंड पूछेंगे कि वो कैसे इन्होंने लैंड करी जॉब, एंड ऑल्सो विल आस्क हिम लिटिल बिट मोर अबाउट हिज पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस एंड ऑल्सो हाउ मच ही इज मेकिंग राइट नाउ. सो या, सो हाय राज, welcome to the channel, bro. So just to start with, can you just tell me about your background? क्या background है, family background थोड़ा बहुत, and also tell us more about educational background कैसा है.
Sure. So story is born in Patna but lived initially in Delhi the first few years of my life.
Okay.
First 12 years here, and throughout school I was fairly okay with academics, but going not a topper necessarily. So hover around the 85 to 95 wala range, ऊपर नीचे. In terms of my upbringing, I had I was part of a family of 4 people. मेरा छोटा भाई है, and my father and mother. My father's an engineer, and my mom's now a housemaker, but before that she was a fashion designer.
Nice.
And I got a lot from them. Anyway, so the first 12 years, they started their marriage and their life as a family in Delhi. So we were here, I was in modern school Barakhamba in Delhi, and again was much more inclined towards learning new things always. So sports was one thing that I was always, and I to this day do. Apart from that, I would always try to upskill in some fun brainy game. My mom used to make me play anagrams. My father used to make me play chess and Sudoku, but they were not very serious. Like it was so interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually started enjoying it. So throughout school, I would delve into art, into sports, into games, and not so much into studies. And I was that guy who was running around all the time. So that was most of school initially. And then my father got a new job. He was an engineer. He's civil engineer by profession. And he became a road safety auditor at that time. He got a job in the government of Qatar, and we moved to Middle East.
And which year?
This was 2012. My 8th grade.
Your 8th.
So midway, I had to move. Luckily, in Qatar, they have CBSE schools and Indian boards. So वो नहीं बदला मेरे लिए. I went there. I studied in a school called Doha Modern Indian School, and it was a very small school. Modern school here is a very large school and old school with heritage.
Yeah.
But that school didn't have that. It was a very big difference, of course, environmental change, going to Middle East, etc.
Correct.
But I did finish my schooling there. Again, the same trend continued. Got into sports, did some stuff, was a part of the football team, basketball team. So I took up debating to on getting these speaking skills, right? And then got into a few different things. Chess में मैं घुस गया था काफी सारा. And it was right around 11th grade where it started to dawn upon me that अब college का करना है. And I didn't really come out with a decision at that time, but got some guidance from some seniors. I noticed they were giving this paper called SAT.
Okay.
Stands for I think standardized admission test at the time. A standardized aptitude test, I think. And it was used for undergrad admissions to US. In BMIS 11th grade, Rahul and I were talking, हो जाएगा, career नहीं बनाना, career tech में बनाना. It was always that. Throughout, as I told you, learning and all of things, learning would always take on a part of tech. I learned how to jailbreak phones, learning how to make my Windows machine look like a Mac OS system.
And was your father the person who was going to be consulting you, going to be guiding you out?
So ulta hota tha, like because my family was not very tech savvy, I became the tech guy, and so ulta hota tha ki I would be guiding them. But my parents never stopped me. Why? Okay, so one of the interesting things was I always got encyclopedias, bachpan. And as I told you, both my parents are bibliophiles. My father is a heavy philosophical reader, religious reader, astrology reader. My mom's a huge creative reader and creative writer. So they come from that level of thought and creativity. और मुझे हमेशा बचपन में किताबों के आसपास रखते थे. I used to read science journals and encyclopedias, and learn about
Nice.
biology.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So it was just like that. मेरे अपने motivations होते थे to do other things, but I think fundamentally curiosity was
So
something.
there was no pressure as such on you that to get into science or something. It was like they were
like,
different.
okay, so they sort of push the right elements within me, right habits, right thinking structure, but उस चीज को reality में बदलने के लिए we need to figure out a career.
Got it.
And fortunately, unfortunately now, because we were a nuclear family, sort of didn't really have family friends because we moved a lot. And again, the profession my father was at audit, it restricts your hands. You're by the book, and there's so many different things you have to take care of. You can't really manage everyone to keep happy. तो वो वाला था कि we had a different life than most people. And in that sense, my father only knew the engineering path as a career. And my mom had a designer path, and she was not very convinced on the return on that path. And so for me, it was very clear that I was, quote unquote, according to my father, smart.
Got it.
So usko,
So there was not such pressure, but they actually helped you to transform yourself and to just get that kind of a mindset to get into a right.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think even I was not super aware on where I can take a stand or like what I should do.
And then the science was the best option.
हाँ मतलब standard Indian smart क्या होता है 85% plus. If you're 85% plus, try to get science. Otherwise, commerce that's the silly mentality of the country, right? The worst part about this mentality, it's also there in Qatar. It's also there in Indian schools out there. So mentality is more of a family-driven thing. Within my family, as I told you, not many career paths existed. So tried and tested पे ही खेलना था. उसमें I found computer science is the only ray of hope. क्योंकि मुझे फिजिक्स में उतना मजा नहीं आ रहा था. केमिस्ट्री अच्छा होता था, लेकिन क्या करूंगा मैं? मतलब I never really thought of doing chemistry in real life. Biology was something that I was very good at. My father was a bio topper back in the day. My mom was a designer. I was an artist. So I used to have very visualized wala part. And correct. My mom comes from a family of doctors in Patna. So thoda sa wo tha inclination, but the amount of up-to-date reading and journal reading and technical reading you have to do and mugging up, I was never the mug up guy. Even though it was okay, manage ho jata tha SST and all these history subjects, I was always enjoying the problem solving process, and that was only available in
Beautiful journey, beautiful. Then after you were actually like you have given a SAT or you were actually doing the JEE, क्या करा after that?
With SAT, we found that not only US but India में regional engineering colleges जो पहले होते थे RECs,
correct,
actually have quote unquote like a quota, like a specific selection of seats. उसको quota ऐसे नहीं बोल सकते हैं. The only reason being कि cut offs उसमें lower नहीं होते.
International students के लिए जो
Yes, it's I don't know what the current situation is, but at the time they used to manage it under the banner of direct admissions for students abroad, DASA, DASA. And DASA had a selection of number of seats across all NITs.
A lot of Nepals, a lot of people coming from Bhutan, they actually joined these colleges.
Right? So India neighbors, sister neighbors of India, but then also I have friends from Singapore, from Nigeria, from Lagos, from other places across the continents who come in. So it's basically a way for you to give SAT to go to the US, but agar wo nahi hua, because it's a standardized exam, you can use the same marks to come here,
to come in India.
And the cutoff was the logic of cutoff is slightly different. So back in the day, JEE का rank आता था. अभी I think percentile आता है.
Correct, percentile.
And उसके rank के हिसाब से आपको मिलता था whatever whatever you're eligible for and whatever you choose to apply in your selection order of your priority. So it was slightly similar in that sense कि yes, your marks, not rank, determined your outcome or your options, but the way the marks were calculated was never relative. So rank becomes relative, na?
Got it.
And
exactly.
उधर 2400 का होता था. ठीक है. And out of that, उसमें भी I think it's important. It's helpful to know this detail. SAT was of two types, SAT 1 and SAT 2. Let's just call it that. So I had to work my way around. Found SAT 2, which are basically subject matter tests. So two types होते थे, physics, chemistry, or maths level 2. Why? Because those three were the eligible subjects of SAT type for DASA.
Okay.
So वो भी 2400 का होता था. Each subject was 800 marks. So after 3 attempts, I scored a perfect score. And that was when I was like, अच्छा ठीक है, चलो with the perfect score, the privilege of perfect score is that a lot of every college, every branch becomes open.
Okay.
That's a privilege nobody has. Only very few people have in JEE. But for SAT, because it's marks, not relative ranking, almost everybody who can score that high will have that privilege at some point.
Correct.
And SAT आप multiple times दे सकते थे.
Correct.
Maximum 5 times a year.
Correct.
ऐसा था उस time पे. So I gave that. By the end of 12th, I had my score. Interestingly, I also gave mains because my father, being my father, bought in books from, I know. We bought in books ka photocopy from Kalu Sarai. Kalu Sarai is this hub in educational hub in Delhi. जहाँ पे engineering के students के बहुत होते हैं. My father would come on vacations, tell me to stay there in Qatar. He would come here, make like photocopies of 40, 80 volumes of books, bring it there, and he's amazing at math and physics. So he used to teach me.
Wow.
And I used to be like, I don't want to know, I can't do this. I go, wow, the teacher cheered.
Father's teaching maths to like students.
And it was like 30 years, right?
Yeah.
30 years पहले उन्होंने physics और मेरे सामने, and I couldn't do a single essay like a JE sum. My father used to crack sums after 30 years.
Bro, अभी मुझे दे दो अभी. I just won't be like कि कैसे मैं करूँगा इस वाले यार.
I mean, that was the mentality. My father was an engineer through and through. He was an academician at heart. Like, he was very, very close to the subject. I was more on the putting things to use, more like you in that sense, creating impact rather than just exploring ideas.
Correct.
And so, उस मामले में I used to think, yeah, study. I really don't feel like it. I'll do enough to get by, and that's gonna be fine, right? And then my father was like, no, because if you're really, so he was like, he gave us a profound thing, right? He did this exercise with me. Macro planning करते हैं, so we did a quick plan. पहले बार मैंने सोचा था कि होता क्या macro plan, 25 पे शादी, 26 पे लड़के बच्चे and all those things.
Correct.
So, nothing about that is not, by the way, true. Just by the way, but my father did that planning, and as an outcome of that planning, he told me we found that the only path that is acceptable by the family and reasonable to me is computer science.
Okay.
Is engineering. And the truth is, computer science is the most difficult branch to crack in any college in India.
Correct.
So that was the problem, because my father was like, देखो तुम पढ़ाई करते हो नहीं, तुम्हें motivation है नहीं. And I never went to tuition anywhere in my life, ever. So, except for SAT, 1 month, I went, 2 months, I went, उससे paper पहले हमने like, we've just done mock papers, learned techniques, that's it.
Correct.
I never really done tuition in my life. And I always said that you should put me to tuition. My dad had a philosophy like, if I see you work hard enough and you will make use of tuition, I'll put you there. And he didn't see me work hard enough. So he was like, your test 1 is to pass through me.
That's so crazy, bro, because the first thing which Indian parents do is to give like a proper tuition to somebody, right? And they're like, dude, हमारा बच्चा घर में नहीं पढ़ता, खुद इसमें मोटिवेशन है नहीं, उसको डालो ट्यूशन के अंदर और ट्यूशन में पढ़ेगा ये बच्चा.
हाँ.
And they do that, bro. Like they know it.
Yeah, because like everybody else does.
And bro, you're blessed. Like you're really blessed, right?
Yeah.
Where parent is actually when your father is like, dude, मैं तुझे पढ़ाता हूँ, तू बैठ. और in case अगर मुझे लगता है you're putting your hard work, I'm gonna put my hard work and hard money in tuitions and gonna help you with the cracking the exams.
Yeah, correct. But I personally, the side note, I believe that every family is on the same path.
Correct.
It's just at different times. So, आज, for example, my family is at a timeline में X checkpoint where, say, for example, one of their child has got into a college abroad or something like that, or the family member has made it abroad. वहीं पे आज एक और family होगी जो same issues है, but 30 साल पहले है.
Correct.
Years behind.
Correct.
So their biggest issue is कि अभी मैं बच्चे को college कैसे भेजूं?
It's the same goes with like a person who's actually buy a plot in Gurgaon. Let's suppose 10 years back, अब उसको 1 करोड़ रुपए का वो 10 साल पहले उसने लिया, आज वो 10 करोड़ का है. So somebody is right now buying that same property, उसको कितना struggle करना पड़ेगा.
Correct.
I understand it.
You get that. Like, it's a relative journey. But yeah, so grandpa came from merit, followed this guy politically. This guy ended up paying my grandpa's fees for school, throughout school, then college. Then grandpa wrote, I think civil services exam कहते थे उस time पे. He wrote that, got through an IPS rank. Didn't take it because he was scared. क्योंकि he saw the friends of this political person. like, मुझे तो इन लोगों की जैसे मुझे उनसे नहीं हो पाएगा. And he was a swimmer and all. तो he was like, मेरे को थोड़ा कुछ मतलब ऐसा करना है जहाँ पे मेरे को बहुत सारे लोग साथ में करना पड़े. Eventually he went into tax. I think he went into revenue service, where he would order, eventually after his tenure he would order raids and all of those things. So a completely different side of public service.
Correct.
But still merit being the bedrock of it. And then my father was born, and same things, right? Like his father told him, we don't have money, you're going to have to figure this out on your own. On top of that, you have 5 brothers and sisters, so deal with it. Limited resources. 2 BHK house, 8 people, 9 people, that's the group, that's the sort of setup my father grew up in. And yeah, youngest of them, so very little resources, and but science wale bande the, and he's the hardest worker I've seen in my life. So real bar none. And so he slogged without tuitions, got into a few colleges, engineering. Khud se ki nobody in my family, in this sibling line has done engineering, or at least even remotely as meritocratically as he has.
Got it.
And so he did all of his engineering in 20 rupees. 20 rupees was cheap back then too, just by the way.
Really, bro? Like 20 rupees is like nothing, bro.
Yeah, and no tuitions. So he's that self-made sort of person. So
Got it.
I was never going to get out. Matlab, he was going to make sure on one of his kids, or if not both, end up with that sort of measure and rigor. So that's the same treatment I got. You in Qatar.
Great, bro. I think it's amazing. Just to understand, right? Now you are back in India,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
You cracked BCG,
Mm-hmm.
correct? After DTU, you cracked BCG, right? Tell me the story about the DTU. Tell me the story how you crack it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the story about also about how you cracked BCG while in DTU.
Okay.
So that's the story which I and my entire like listeners and viewers want to learn from you, bro. Like how you actually have done that.
So it's interesting. So as I told you, I actually wanted to go abroad. Also, what specific reason tha? As I told you, marks were never stellar.
Correct.
But profile was.
Correct.
What you don't see are like, if you go to my parents' home, you'll see a cabinet of all the winnings. I was big into competitions. क्योंकि मैं पढ़ाई नहीं करता था, मैं काम करता था, सीखना रहता था, और मैं compete करता तो बहुत किक आता था.
Fair.
So I had a fairly decent collection over there. What does that mean? अच्छा प्रोफाइल था for a US college, but वो नहीं हुआ. So we had to take that sort of decision कि करना क्या है. And when we found DASA and I got the score, it was very clear कि अब computer science is the only way forward. So I chose to come to. I had put a lot of colleges that I wanted, and I clearly, because of the good score, I had the choice. So I actually came, and ek mahina in 2016 of July, I came and I toured campuses. Like you went to DT, we were talking about that just like a few minutes ago, right?
Correct.
I did that same exercise before going to DTU.
Wow.
And I did that exercise with NSIT as well, which is a campus in Dwarka.
Just to check and just to understand. क्यों नहीं कर सकते?
Just kidding. Like I worked for it, and these are the dreams which my senior used to tell me. If you do it, these are the things that you okay choose, which is not a luxury that most people have. So came and visited a bunch of campuses. NIT Surathkal, NIT Trichy, they were the more prestigious campuses as well.
And you actually visited personally over there?
Yeah, I went. I went. I saw, and Bangalore, mein we have our mama, my mom's elder brother. They're all settled there. He has his own B2B business of risk consulting, but he was in very early stages at that time. So I did end up going to those areas and saw. And then I was like, when I came to Delhi, and after I came to Delhi after 6 years in Qatar, so a lot of nostalgia hit. And
lot of these rallias, lot of like chart wala and everything.
And always I had seen कि campus wala, like वो Yale का campus, Harvard campus, चलो वो नहीं हुआ, but a campus life. And I started again. YouTube always came to my rescue. So I used to see life at DTU, life at IIT, whatever, and used to figure and used to understand कि campus wala चाहिए मुझे college. And out of all the campuses, NIT Surathkal has a beautiful campus. DTU was just closer to home, and my parents had a home here that needed a little bit of taking care of too. And we had base, footing, friends, relatives, etc. Local people. So didn't feel like too much of a change, given that my parents were still going to live abroad and I was going to live in a different country. So we came to DTU. And yeah, so came to DTU, got into computer science luckily, chose that because campus bahut sundar tha. And that's when the journey began. In my first year, once again, no padhai, little bit of padhai, but just enough to get by and more hands-on. So did a bunch of society.
And what's the year?
This is 2016. August 1st, I joined DTU. I entered hostel for the first time in my life. I love it. The first night itself, I fall in love with the vibe. I love with people. My room become the hub for poker and everything. No, पढ़ाई तो करने नहीं आया मैं यहाँ पे.
IP वाले रो रहे होंगे इस टाइम यार किस कॉलेजेस वाले.
I think वो एक होता है charm of hostel life. And वो भी गंदा hostel हो ना, so it's like the government hostel vibe, but my hostel was very bad. Government DDA, not to say DDA facts are bad or whatever, but imagine this, a man living or child living abroad with protected environments thrown into North Delhi campus in the DDA flat with like no furnishings and metal frame beds and metal tables, etc.
It looks quite like bad in terms of like photos and everything, but to live that kind of a life,
It's a privilege.
it's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
Beautiful life, okay? And you're transforming every single thing, right, in that room. कि अच्छा वो ये अच्छा सीमेंट उतर रहा है, चलो बाद में लगा.
हाँ मतलब I think
पोस्टर लगा देता हूँ.
definitely engineering teaches you that जुगाड़ वाला aspect यही से आता है. So I'm super happy you know that. Anyway, so yeah, I came and loved it 1st August 2020, 2016. Within a few months, I was everywhere like, in terms of societies के वो होते हैं interviews.
Correct.
For getting in. So TEDx was the name I was known of, like I knew of. So I was like, जानता हूँ, let's go for this.
TEDx.
And I got into TEDx. उनके interviews वगैरह हुए तो बढ़िया. I became in a publicity team of TEDx. Simultaneously, I was always into helping people, social causes and teaching, sort of helping people, giving back. Found out a few social organizations and एक अलग सा थोड़ा stand out करता था. Yes, Enactus. Social entrepreneurship.
When it was like social, I was like Enactus.
I'm so happy that they have that kind of a brand because it's not just social work; it's like social entrepreneurship, which is where it stood out.
Yeah, and also in DTU, there are times that people I have saw they are encouraging to go ISEC or something.
Yeah, yeah, we had ISEC people coming to
you. Like ISEC was a big thing in DTU, right? A lot of people were
quite a few people were there from DTU. One of my best friends, Nikhil Gandhi, he's working in Germany in M&A right now, mergers and acquisitions in a corporate strategy role in a German machinery manufacturing giant company. He started all of his international dreams and all of those things because of ISEC. He took an internship and went to Egypt, I guess. Yeah, a bunch of different places like around Egypt and all, and learned a lot there. And he was like, he did international internships, a luxury I didn't get. So yeah, I mean, ISEC was real. ISEC was very real for us.
So you were talking about Enactus.
Yeah, got into Enactus. Concept of Enactus was social entrepreneurship. Basically, underprivileged section को upskill करके business run कर बना के उनको hand over कर देंगे to run the business.
Correct.
And so this can basically concept was भूखे को खाना मत दो, खाना पकाना सिखा दो या hunting सिखा दो, right? वो वाली चीज.
Fish मत दो उसको fishing करना सिखा दो.
Correct. You remember that? So we used to. I mean, I used to talk on campus talks like this, and it was very like it's true. So it took my eye, got into it. I would say my time at Enactus was some of the most pivotal moments, my highlight moments that I've had in college. I found I didn't even know what consulting was. I found consulting, found some of the smartest people in that selection of 30 people. They were the most normies, normal looking, and each and every one of them today is a high flying stud in the conventional sense.
I understand.
Everyone's creating impact in all shapes of life. Someone's doing design, someone's doing filmography, someone else has started up. Nimic from Easy PG was a very early Enactus alum who I met, and he took my interview for Enactus. Today he's a founder, and
like again, Vision, Nimitz, right?
Yeah, and then others too, like Gautam Gambhir. He works for Boston Consulting Group now. He was there in the COVID war room with Government of India driving solutions. In that, I mean, 3-4 years into career, that's an opportunity.
I think अच्छे college में जाने से यही बहुत बड़ा impact है that you get a very good network.
Yeah.
And also not just getting into a good college, but also getting into a right set of people, right? Networking with them and also have a, like, again, if you, अगर आपने कभी भी वो society join ही नहीं की होती, कभी भी you won't be meeting such people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's very important while getting into a college, getting into a right set of people, talking to them, networking with them. It's very, very important because a lot of time people क्या करते हैं, NEET में चले गए, अच्छे college में चले गए. Now that's it. Bye, tata. बस हो गया. So Raj, want to understand, like, you were so much into social entrepreneurship, right? And Enactus is the only like thing, right? I want to love to know about Enactus का experience. So you have shared what impact you have done, right, in Enactus. कुछ ऐसा experience बता सकते हो कि हाँ जहाँ पे समझ में आया हो कि धंधा ऐसा होता है and अच्छा अगर मैं ये चीज करूँगा and कुछ मतलब impact create होगा जिससे.
So I mean a bunch. So let me just talk about like 4 good things that happened, right? First year, I got selected. I was part of a project called Project Chap. So concept था कि slums में, the nearest slum with the viability for this sort of a project, we would go there, find single women or let's just say widowed women with primary house earner responsibility and upskill them on t-shirt printing, screen printing of t-shirts, which is not an advanced technique at all. In fact, not scalable. That's what we found later. But that was my first. I would go into slums with my seniors, Rajat and Mansi and all these people. Mansi came, Ishan. Maheshwari, Microsoft, Dell, or that's where they are today.
Right,
But हम लोग सब लोग साथ slum जाते थे पहले, right? And we used to go to the slum. We used to talk to women there, and they had problems. We used to talk to the slum के जो करता धरता होते हैं. So I forget their name, but like sort of a village sarpanch, equivalent, and try to ask them to help us gather women of these sort of natures to help them upscale. And sometimes you would get backlash, so we would have to. So there's a lot of learning there on how to communicate with that struggle of society, and their problems and how to solve for those and optimize things there. So did that. Got a few. We call them entrepreneurs. We got a few people from those sections to come in. And all of that said and done, that project ran for a year and a half. Into my second year, I was a part of that project as a hands-on core team member. And then we had to shut it down because you're not making money. And as you know, at the end of it, you need to run a business to make money so that you can hand the business over to these people who have created the business.
Correct.
So wo ho nahi raha tha, we had to run it. We had to shut it down. Then I moved to a different project called Project Unnati. Interestingly, between these two projects, and at the end of every year, academic year, Enactus holds a competition, a national competition called Enactus India National. Around 600 Enactuses across India, which are chapters in colleges. The Enactus एक organization है, जैसे TEDx एक organization है, right? तो उसके chapter में हमारा DTU एक chapter था. We would compete with other chapters, and regional होता था, district होता था, उसके बाद national होता था. So we got through everything. Audits and all from KPMG used to happen for our projects and financials. Did through that. Was the first time in my life where I actually was in a room of high performer change makers. When that Mumbai at Taj, that competition happened in 2017, July. And I was flying high because I was the only first year kid who was the primary speaker out of 4 speakers. जिसमें से 2 तो हमारे leaders थे जो third year के अंदर थे, और मैं and my best friend Param Chura. He's a consultant at Bain. So I'm telling you, everybody has gone on to do fab things. So उस time पे किसी का कुछ नहीं होने वाला था. हम लोग घुस गए थे. So Param and I used to become. We were always eloquent. We were also from the same Dasa quota, so we could speak English in a fairly comfortable way and stand out in an engineering college. So we got that speaking role. We ended up going through the ranks and we came second out of 600 colleges eventually after months of this stuff. And by half a point, we lost the first place to Enactus SSCBS, Saeed Sukhdev College of Business Studies, rivals. No shout out, but and yeah, they ended up. I mean, kudos to them because they won, represented India in the Enactus World Cup next year, and won again. So Enactus India was the best Enactus in the world, the highest change making, most impactful. So we lost to the best in the world, and we were very happy in that sense. But yes, of course, it's a rivalry.
So now I just want to love about how you actually land up to the BCG. Right? A DTU guy coming from a tech background, usually a BCG guy is actually from someone who's actually coming at like किसी ने शहीद सुखदेव से किया है या फिर कोई जिसने कॉमर्स का बैकग्राउंड है, right? And most of the time these BCG guys pick these kinds of people, right? But you coming from DTU will land up to the BCG and that too in a consulting role, coming from a tech background. Tell me the story, bro.
Right. So there's some truth to what kind of people they look for. First, what we've realized, at least again, thanks to Gautam sir and all these people, because they got into Deloitte and EYs of the world. In their final year, I got some very good guidance, and the guidance was basically this: कि जो तुमने profile. So consulting in tech colleges looks for a bottom-heavy CV. A bottom-heavy CV is one which has a lot of positions of responsibility. So on top of what you're expected to do, which is a number of marks, you also have to do more on that. How much more you are able to add to that is essentially what makes a very good consultant profile. And so that's what I did with my second project at Unnati, and then I did 2 more. Another nationals project, I took on a new role of corporate head, bought in grants as well, did corporate reach outs, learned a lot in the next 2 more years at Enactus. And as I told you, I had also become a part of TEDx at that time. So I basically rounded out my profile with TEDx, Enactus, and actually in my my final year, I also started Toastmasters with 2 other people. So we were the 3 co-founders in DTU, again a chapter of Toastmasters. I don't know if it's still running or not, but
I guess these guys are running.
I think it may be. I was the founding president. We ran a few connects, etc., and we set up the groundwork, and then I had to take off for my consulting, my final year placement prep. So with these 3 sort of things, I was able to round out my profile a little bit. Between years, I would, and competition wins aside, I would also do sort of internships. And every year I did an internship or two. The most marquee internship I did was in my third year in Gurgaon in sector 62, Paras Trinity.
Sure.
It was a startup called Zunroof. I think they got acquired. I'm not sure actually. I think they rebranded to Zun Pulse,
Uh-huh.
and they were in the energy space. So I worked in the energy industry then, renewable energy, solar energy.
And then back in 2018,
Yes,
back in 2018,
2019.
2019. At that time,
2019 July, June, July 2019. I was
there was a lot of startups coming up in renewable energy space.
that
at that
space
time.
got a lot of, yeah,
2019 में बहुत लोग आए थे solar plates
And again, like the people who were in that zone were also the right sort of people driving that zone at that time. I worked very closely with the founder in that role
and you got this internship through
on campus. I got, yeah, the very few companies actually used to come for non-tech internships. Like 3 companies came, and good companies. And then when I say good, I mean big. And then 2-3 startups came.
I understand.
Yeah. So I mean, technical college, right?
Correct,
होता नहीं है. तो a problem statement very close to my heart naturally. So anyway, I got through. मेरा वो बहुत clear था. I wanted to get into a campus internship. So got through that. Worked very closely with a very, very brilliant person called Pranesh. He was the CEO. He probably is still the CEO and founder of Zunroof at the time. And I was in a CEO's office role for strategic initiatives and marketing.
Okay.
And I actually found content writing in that internship. I eventually got that PPO as well. Chose not to join it because I wanted to sit for a place.
Why not coming from a CS background, right? You're coming from a CS background.
Yeah.
And CS is like top elite branch.
Sure.
CS में क्यों नहीं करी internship?
I did coding. I used to love coding actually. I used to love tech, so I used to love coding.
People are crying in a corner right now and they're like, dude, तुझे CS मिली है, तो CS क्यों नहीं कर रहा भाई?
The reason is very simple. And then again comes down to good guidance, right? I had seen and met some brilliant people who are very, very good coders.
Okay.
But I just couldn't identify with that, like ever. I like
Can't relate to them.
yeah, they would. That's just not the tongue I spoke.
Every single day sitting on a table chair and just coding, right? And that's it.
Yeah, I loved coding though, but I just didn't like the outcome of coding, which is a coding job. So what was the coding? मैं कैसी coding करता था? I would do coding of like Snake, like the game Snake, tic-tac-toe. Java में ऐसे YouTube पे सीख के I would try that stuff and do that kind of coding. Coding was fun, yeah. Like, but then these educational institutes, they help you realize the truth, which is not everything is fun all the time.
Correct.
And so when it became very clear to me that if this is not going to be fun all the time, I can't do this.
And then you switch to something else.
Yeah. In first year itself, I realized this luckily because again, good guidance and I had my hands all over the place. So I tried coding, didn't jama nahi, baitha nahi. So threw some other things on the wall, see what stuck, Enactus, this business side, this impact side of doing something. The problem statement work that we used to do was insane, like super fun. And energy was just something else. So I was like, yahi karna hai. And again, so 2 things happened with Enactus, the finals, Chap and Unnati. I told you 4 things were important. The 4th thing that happened was, thanks to Gautam sir, who was the president of Enactus when I was joining.
Thanks to Gautam sir.
Thanks to Gautam sir. And his name is Gautam Gambhir.
Gautam Gambhir.
Every Gautam Gambhir is amazing. Who, by the way, random sir, is from Modern School Barakhamba.
Ah, nice. Same.
Yeah, so all Gautams were helping me out like that. But yes, he took me, Param and I to Gurgaon Cyber City. और मेरे को पहले आया नहीं था. And I used to live in Qatar वगैरह, तो मेरे को कोई idea नहीं था Cyber City क्या था. And it was world view changing for me. It was pivotal for me because not only did we visit Cyber City, we went to KPMG's HQ, where one of the senior partners of KPMG on his pro bono side, he would put his pro bono hours for free as his giving back as initiative and would sit with us at Enactus DTU. And हम 3 गए थे, Gautam sir, Param and I, and 4 hours. And I saw one of the finest consultants and the smartest, sharpest business people at the helm of business teach me how to do my project.
Wow.
And break everything down. And the man walked in a suit, everything was structured. He knew how to ask the right question. He figured everything out. And
your heart was like,
I was like, yahi to karna hai.
Your heart was like,
this is what I wanted, not coding. Ye
bro,
karna hai.
ye.
So it was very clear. And that's what Enactus gave me. Enactus gave me my kick,
True.
the experience and the
It
opportunities.
was such a beautiful thing, right? You got into DTU, you got into CS, you dreamed about CS like in 12th, in 11th, right?
Yeah.
You understand that मैं tech बनूंगा, मैं engineer बनूंगा, right? And you get into DTU, one of the finest colleges in India, right? And then suddenly in first year itself, you get into Enactus and you figure out, dude, मेरे लिए tech नहीं है.
Like, exactly like that.
bro. And that's a lovely story, right? That's a beautiful story. So now, just to understand, bro. Now, just to cut short, wanted to love about like, how, like, you told me that guy actually wearing the suit, and your like heart goes like, bro. Till now, there's no scope of BCG in picture, right? DTO में BCG आया या फिर आप गए BCG के?
So DTU में BCG आया,
हाँ,
आता था. I didn't know.
ठीक है.
I only knew KPMG because ये हो गया मेरे साथ. So by third year, everything was done and dusted. All these Toastmasters and everything happened. I had a nice profile, a GPA that cleared the cutoff. 7.5 was the cutoff. मेरा 7.8 था. 7.73 था. And 7.8 हो गया end में. So I was barely made rate वाला नहीं था. नहीं, actually if I no wait correct करने दो. Third year end किया 7.33. 7 was the cutoff. I ended my fourth year with a good GPA, highest, like one of the highest GPAs. थोड़ा easy हो गया था हम लोग के लिए, subjects कम हो जाते हैं, COVID भी हो गया था. So my GPA shot up to not much, 7.73. So never crossed that 8 average anyway, but just cleared the cutoff. And that was the truth. मेरा सत्य यही था कि like at fourth year, I would have to choose कि मेरे को अच्छी कंपनी में जाना था. I wanted to try consulting. So there are a handful of companies that come. मेरे को McKinsey, BCG बेन तो पता भी नहीं था. मुझे सिर्फ पता था KPMG, Deloitte, EY और PwC. अच्छा, मैं वही एम कर रहा था. अच्छा. And it wasn't until I got my PPO in my third year from Sunroof, and I again went to Vipasa and my parents as well. And I was like, ले लूं या नहीं लूं? And they were
And
like,
at that time, your parents were living in Qatar?
no, so they moved back to India in 2017 August.
Okay.
Because some economic stuff happened there, diplomatic relations went bad for the country, and for Indians living there was difficult.
Got it. Let's not get into it.
Yeah, they came back. And so in final year, I was having this discussion, chose not to go with it because then he said, okay, you know, this Gautam sir said that this is Bain aata hai and best like 13.5 package देता है base salary. Sorry, package देता है 8.5 का base होता है. Non-tech में इससे अच्छा तुम्हें नहीं मिलेगा DTU में, and it's a fab brand. I'm like, ठीक है, research करने की आदत थी YouTube पे, so started getting into it. क्या है Bain बता, and realized that there's a whole another level of consulting out there called strategy consulting beyond management consulting. And then I started meeting some of the people at Bain, and what I realized was that the sort of people I met because of KPMG were there's an even smaller set in McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. So like there's more exclusivity.
No exclusivity.
And I found out that the smartest people, again, मेरा वहाँ पे किक था, और दूसरा, they had the highest flying life. So वो थोड़ा होता है initially when you're trying to see a life of suits.
Correct.
So, I had that, right? And I saw, ठीक है, Bain आता है, BCG आता है, McKinsey आता है, McKinsey नहीं आता है. तो पता ये चला कि McKinsey नहीं आता था, BCG, Bain आती थी regularly for their middle office and back office, not front office. And Ernst & Young, PwC, Deloitte, and KPMG used to come for the front office role. Wow. So तुम consultant बनते थे on fast track to becoming partner pre-MBA. Correct. Right? Without an MBA. But in BCG, you need to start from the back office. तो वहीं पे दिखता था कि okay भाई बहुत कुछ तो है. And they still paid more. So we were like, even how much money are these women? Like, so wanted to try that, I say. And Bain was the first company that comes. So पूरा घिसम ताली करके full July I sat after my internship ended, left Enactus, did not go for that last third year final, and prepped for guesstimates and case studies. Bain was the first company that came for the non-tech. मैं non-tech roles ही देख रहा था, and मुश्किल से 20 कंपनी आती होंगी अच्छी सी, and like startups आती थी उसके. And I was very clear कि मुझे corporate में initially जाना था. And didn't get selected. 1,800 people applied. 50 were shortlisted. My profile was 13th. 11th, I remember. And then top 10 interviews happened. Top 11 interviews happened. Eventually, 50 में से 11 interviews. So 3-4 rounds of interviews, case studies were eliminations. And then last में 11 लोग थे. And they took 9 people. And my girlfriend at the time and I, we were the 2 people, 10th and 11th, जिनका नहीं हुआ आखिरी तक आके. So we were very bummed out. We were very, very bummed out. So it was heartbreaking for me.
And how many rounds you actually have qualified?
If I remember correctly, so first round was CV shortlisting. Second round, and by the way, this is the only company जो एक aptitude test नहीं लेती थी initially. तो मेरे लिए वो भी बहुत था कि CAT की लोग prep बहुत अच्छे से कर रहे थे, मैंने नहीं किया था उतने अच्छे से. तो I was like CV shortlisting में CV तगड़ा है मेरा. I need to make sure that
अगर CV हो गया तो मैं निकाल लूँ.
Bain में apti नहीं था, CV ही था, तो that was my best shot. That's why I was bummed out. Anyway, so first was CV. Then there were, if I remember, there was a PPT session. Then there was a case solving session. where they teach you how to solve cases, what is expected of you, and then do a workshop.
Got it.
Then there were 3 rounds of interviews, all case interviews, and then there was pizza party for selected people. So after the 3 round, third round के बाद मेरा selection में नाम नहीं आया था. So that was that. Then sorry,
लिस्ट ऐसे देख के
लिस्ट नाम बोलते थे ट्रेनिंग एंड प्लेसमेंट सेल के TNP में नहीं आया था. Param, that guy I told you about, he got to rank 1 in that list. So and he's in private equity now. He's doing well for himself. So yeah, Param and I dreamt of doing these things in cybersecurity together. Touch wood, that happened via different methods, but I met him last week and it was amazing. Anyway, so that was my first failure. Then after that, if I remember, Citibank आई थी for an analyst role, got rejected from apti round. उसके बाद PwC आई थी. My girlfriend at the time, she got through. I couldn't, and she eventually went through the entire project, cracked it also, and she became she got an offer for a technology consultant, very talented person. वो नहीं हुआ. उसके बाद Ernst & Young I rejected, didn't even make it to interviews. KPMG I didn't even make it to interviews. Deloitte I didn't even make it to interviews. I was like, मुझे इंटरव्यू तक पहुंचने तो दो, let me try to convince. वही तो आता है, like केस कराओ मेरे को.
and इस टाइम यू एक बार सेल्फ डाउट नहीं आया कि ये रिज्यूमे सीवी कहीं खराब है मेरा, कहीं मैं फिर इस टाइम पे क्या किया, इस सिचुएशन में क्या?
Self doubt was
because you know what Raj, there are times where the people right now watching, they're also facing the same problem.
Cool.
They're applying through the LinkedIn, they're applying through a lot of job portals, but they are not getting replies. So this is a time where I want to understand from your side कि क्या mindset था उस time.
It was bad, man. Like, so हम उस time पे भी flat पे रहते थे. I started off in the hostel, but I had to move out due to some health issues in the hostel. And तो मैं घर और कॉलेज के जस्ट बाहर रहता था. And हर रोज कॉलेज में क्लासेस 4th year में कॉलेज जाता था. We used to go for placements and then rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds and it wouldn't stop, right? So it just became a grind of losses, like after rejection after rejection.
Pressure on you.
And everybody in my flat eventually started getting placed. People got placed in visa, people got their PPOs, people got 20-30 lakh ki salary. So I was the one who was supposed to become day 0 placed because BN के लिए prepare किया था strong
and Enactus में किया,
profile का बच्चा था, तो बहुत ऐसे ख्याली पुलाव बहुत बन गया था. And it was very humbling to lose every day for a few months. And yeah, one by one my closest friends, everybody got placed.
And that time no one's going to tell you कि dude Raj तू यार इसके लिए कर रहा है, non technical role के लिए कर रहा है, but it's back in 2019 with tech तो was like massively growing, right? People were getting packages here and there, like जिसको 10 लाख का मिल रहा है वो 25 लाख पे जा रहा है. उस टाइम ये डाउट नहीं आया कि यार मैं कोडिंग
कभी पैसों के पीछे भागा नहीं था. I remember 57 lakhs was the highest package offered in my campus for a domestic placement in Salesforce. And a good friend of mine got through that. But it wasn't money. It was always the work and the impact.
Correct.
Or वो roles कम थे.
Got it.
So the mindset that I was in, it was pretty bad. I used to get into fights वगैरह with a lot of my friends. So everything annoyed me.
And
kudos to my closest circle of friends, Rahul, Arushi. And again, the support system here is very important. I have touchwood always had a very strong support system in the people around me. Always, like I wouldn't be here if I wasn't for
you're being so lucky, bro.
I was very lucky.
You're being so
I would always say that, yeah, definitely.
So you were talking about your failures, right? Back to back failures. Bro, at that point of time, you were failing, right? But also, this is a very big problem statement because people, what they do is they go for the interviews, they get a call, but after that call, they don't get that kind of a feedback.
Yeah.
Ki bro, why I'm rejecting you? Why I'm getting rejections? They don't get the feedback, and this is a very big problem statement because a lot of HR, what they do is they just reject, right? And they don't give them any feedback. Like now, when you're getting rejections every single like here and there, right? वो जो feedback वाला loop था कि मैं improve क्या करूँ? मेरे पास कुछ है ही नहीं ना, मेरे पास कुछ metrics ही नहीं improve करने के लिए. So have you figured out that metrics कि वो मेरे में क्या कमी आ रही है? मैं क्यों नहीं कर पा रहा इतना सब कुछ होने के बाद भी?
Yes, so in my case, again, this varies case to case. It was very clear because of the structured process of campus.
अच्छा.
मेरे लिए बहुत clear था कि बच्चे CAT का prep कर रहे थे और मेरा prep was just not up to the mark.
Okay.
तो मैं वो first round ही cut off का clear नहीं कर
अच्छा.
And GPA was also not above 8. तो
ठीक
there's
है।
always an internal cutoff for these companies.
Correct.
एक होता है external cutoff कि 7 होगा, but internally they have an intra-merit rank list. I would never be in the top 10 percentile or 50 percentile also.
अच्छा, वो चांस ही नहीं मिला
Chance ही नहीं मिलता
अपने आप को दिखाने का।
And मेरी भी गलती थी that I never really prepped for apti enough. I was more on the rounding out my profile self perspective.
And why you only focused on like campus वाला चीज? Out of campus क्यों नहीं देखा?
So the two reasons. One, we had the privilege because DT
DT
बहुत अच्छी companies आ रही थी
पहले।
so that would be priority one.
अच्छा।
And packages were decent. दूसरा क्योंकि बाहर competition is wider, even though it in essence it might be a little better because a lot of different colleges of not the same.
Cool. I guess you were having that mindset कि जो campus में आएगा
हाँ पहले
वो
तो internship से ही set हो गया था.
हाँ।
I had taken two off-campus internships in my first and second year, and I did not have a great experience there in any of those internships. So it was very important for me to try that campus plus.
Chicken. Now the BCG story. How BCG comes?
Yeah. So it's September of 2020. I've had all these rejections. A company, Moody's Analytics, I think today they're called equity partners. These guys went through the process. And interestingly, उनका aptitude test pen and paper था, बाकी सबका ना computer पे हो रहा था. So somehow it was in my element that I was in my element that day with the pen and paper, and I was always a pen and paper guy. So that being said, cracked that. Luckily वहाँ पे लग गई नौकरी, वहाँ पे लग गई तो the mental space became better. Nothing to lose वाला हो गया, because it was a decent firm. Moody's is a credit rating agency and a pretty good company.
You know what? At that mindset now, when you are like nothing to lose, you win.
Yeah, exactly.
You win.
Yeah, that's what happened.
You win.
That's what happened. When January may found out कि Boston Consulting Group is choosing to come again this year, like fair enough. And तो मेरी तो placement हो गई थी, तो we're not allowed to sit again once you're placed, right? But this company got a dream college, dream company status. तो एक certain bar था, उसके ऊपर अगर आपका package था, तो आप नहीं बैठ सकते थे. And if I remember correctly, it was 8.5 का package अगर CTC हो. And both my girlfriend, I told you, she got placed in PwC, and the package was right under 8.5. ऐसा कुछ था. So she was eligible. So she was like, Raj was sitting. मैं भी बैठ जाता. साथ कंपनी चलते हैं.
तू मत बैठ.
Then she was like, हाँ मैं. I was like, तू मत बैठ. But other part was also there कि यार maybe so we started dating all through college. So 4 years of that, you start dreaming about those.
And you were like, dude, you win, I win. It's
both together for sure. So वो सब ख्याली पुलाव बनने लगे. Nothing to lose. दोनों के पास नौकरी है अच्छी, decent or whatever we wanted. So we just registered. We got through the list for the first time. Then I think BCG process was like 3 rounds of interviews, and that's it. 3 rounds of interviews. I had 4 rounds. Very interesting story there, but essentially every round we had eliminations. 1,600 people applied, 1,600 people applied, 90 people were shortlisted. Eventually through the interviews, आखिरी में I think 16 or 20 लोग थे, roughly. And we thought हम सबका होने वाला है. And then the HR comes with a list, and she's smiling, and everyone's excited because she's going to give the good news. And she's like, guys, we're not, we're confused. And so what we need to do is a few people will have another round of interview. And a few will won't. So immediately question होने लगी उस टाइम पे कि जिनका थर्ड राउंड के बाद भी आप इंटरव्यू नहीं लेते उनका सिलेक्शन हो गया क्या? मैं बोला नहीं, हम नहीं बता सकते, ये आपको शायद रिजेक्शन हो गया, we don't know. But those 2 people are not clear, and उन दोनों में मेरा नाम था. And they pointed it out, and I was like, okay, so I guess I have another round. And the other person with me was a friend of mine only, Kapil, who's by the way gone to IIM Ahmedabad. So BCG didn't take him then, but he went to IIM Ahmedabad and is killing it in life now. So yeah, it doesn't. I think a side point here is placement is very luck driven. It's
not talent driven. It's very luck driven. Right?
It's not good judge of your merit.
You don't need to disappoint yourself that okay, dude, ये क्या किया? And you not need to get disappointed.
Most companies might reject you once, 5 times apply करो, 6ठी बार रिटर्न लेंगे तुम्हें to accept. It's just a matter of effort and luck. So I had that privilege कि एक आखिरी chance मिला मुझे. In my third interview, actually, and I had a fourth one. Third interview, I had bombed. Bombed as in I was put into a stress interview. And the person who interviewed me became a good friend of mine. He's working in Costa Rica now, and he's leading BCG office there. His name is Anuj sir. And he definitely put me through the grind and test. They almost made me cry in that interview. So I was like, मेरा तो नहीं होने वाला, कोई बात नहीं, nothing to lose. And so throughout the interview, I was smiling. He was telling me things that were very like painful about my plan, pointing out my mistakes, and I'm like, okay, so I'll fix it.
I can understand. I can understand that pain when the people are like, you know that you're going to be dead in 10 days, but बताना नहीं जरूरी है भाई.
Smile through it.
तुम मत बता भाई 10 दिन में मरने वाला हूँ भाई. And every single day you like तो 9 दिन में मरने वाला है। भाई पता है मैं मरने वाला हूँ, मत बता भाई। So I understand, right? I totally understand that pain when you were actually giving that interview.
Yeah.
The interview was grinding you up.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
I had two interviewers. So it started with Anuj, then then another colleague of his, again a good friend eventually. He also went to Costa Rica with Anuj to lead BCG car division, and that's where they are right now. His name is Digi Matthews. He walked in, and then ऐसे में like somebody was sitting here and Digi was sitting here, Anuj was sitting there, and मैं ऐसे करके interview दे रहा था. It was crazy. So all of that was happening. It was a hellish interview. I was like, मेरा तो नहीं होने वाला. फिर Achal, the HR, also an alum of modern school Barakhamba. Later I found out, the same school I went to in Delhi, told that these two people, Kapil and Raj, need to come to the Neeraj ke saath interview karne. Neeraj was the director at the time, and it was a rule, cardinal rule. Everybody who gets a final offer or gets rejection has to go to Neeraj. So had that, whatever happened in that interview, Neeraj chose to me, and so or whatever I got through. And finally list पे 4 लोगों का नाम था, और both my girlfriend and I, we made it there at that time. So what we got
what a story.
yeah.
Happy ending, bro. It's a happy ending kind of story.
I mean college तो definitely ended on a happy note there.
Yeah.
And रात को 3 बजे like 2 बजे खत्म हुआ था interview, and results 2:30 बजे आए थे, and सुबह 8 बजे से थे. मतलब the everything came out, like all the effort, the sweat, the tears, it all mixed up. It all got mixed up.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
So much emotions driven, right? And then the people around you and like, dude, तूने किया ही किया है भाई, तुझे नहीं पता मैं कितने struggle से गुजर रहा हूँ भाई, कितने rejections लिए मैंने.
No, actually, I've never really cared about what other people think, but मेरा core circle क्या सोचता है, that's very important.
You know what? On LinkedIn, when you're like looking at your LinkedIn profile, right? Somebody is looking at your profile and is like, BCG crack किया, but then due to BCG. Good. Like उसको his pain नहीं पता, right? You don't know the pain, right? He's like, अच्छा D2 में अगर मैं भी जाऊँगा तो मैं भी BCG crack कर लूँगा. That's the thing, right? Yeah. But you need to understand the kind of a pain we go through, right? There's so much rejections. It's not like जो glamorous life दिखती है LinkedIn पे वो होती नहीं है literally. उसके पीछे बहुत pain होता है. And people around you feel like कि अगर मैं D2 में जाऊँगा तो BCG चले जाऊँगा. Right? These are the real story which I want to put it on the channel.
I think that's the right thing.
Correct.
Like, this is about effort. तुम effort डालते रहो sincerely. At some point, the universe starts working in your favor.
Correct.
You just have to push.
From consulting, Raj, to product management.
Yeah.
I think it's very relative, right? A lot of time, like in product management also, you're doing the consulting kind of role, right? You need to have the problem solving mindset and blah, blah, a lot of shit. Tell me one thing, why product management?
Okay. So firstly, you said the right thing. The common denominator was always there. कि problem solving हो रही है, and the way to do it is to work with a lot of people. How product management, why product management is sort of connected to why not consulting. So got into consulting and had a great time actually at BCG. But the problem was, and great time as in like I got to do a lot of roles. I got my fast track. I had the momentum going for me. I had the fat bonuses. Everything was coming. But I wasn't in a front end role initially. I was hired as most of us were hired as
mostly what the front end back end role means.
Achha, so let me just quickly explain that. Take a minute to do that, right? So 2 campuses, IIT Delhi and DTU. Same Delhi, same team would come, but different roles. An IIT Delhi child in 4th year, undergrad, would get an associate role. And the path for an associate was as follows. In BCG, associate, senior associate, consultant, project leader, principal, partner.
Correct.
So 6 levels to partner. As you take approximately 8 to 10 years, 1.5 साल का आप fast track promotion get into ऐसे करके. So that those are the brilliant वाले लोग जो होते थे कि 8 साल में partner बन गए वो जनता. And
usually 10 साल
कर जाते हैं. This path is just outlined. ना? This is for the front end role. And front end मतलब क्या होता है कि आप drive करोगे, client से बात करोगे, meeting में present करोगे, fly करोगे. You are going to be the problem solver. You are driving your module. And each case had multiple modules. Her module was handled by a consultant. An associate would work for that consultant.
Got it.
So that's how you're pegged in that system. And at DTU, Boston Consulting Group would come and they would offer a role called research associate. And the path for that looked like research associate, research analyst, senior research analyst, lead researcher or research lead, RTM, then research team manager. Then you would become director,
So you can't be like, you can't switch it towards the front end role.
So yes, you can. And at BCG, there's a very strong concept called one BCG many paths. Again, the variety of consulting sort of helps you do those swifts and movements. So that's what my plan was, frankly, that I got into a back end or a middle office role. Because we used to, interesting thing in my BCG interview when I was asked that do you have an offer, and I said yes, I have an offer from Moody's Analytics. And like, we are Moody's clients ना, तो हम उनको काम देते हैं, काम तो तुम्हें किस साइड रहना मतलब BCG. So
Of course,
I got into that role.
goes without saying, sir. Goes without saying. And
But I saw that, like, I eventually worked with Moody's Analytics people, but I was the one giving them work, and they were the back office at the time, equity partners. They were knowledge KPOs, knowledge processing. So anyway, when I got in there, I realized very quickly that this is not a role which gives me front end client facing time without showing an exceptional amount of expertise on a specific topic.
got
You
it.
see, you as a researcher or a research person, you need to know a lot about an industry. Which industry was first used to be at BCG driven by choice कि तुम्हें rotate करते थे पहले साल में across different practice area बोलते हैं, different practice areas. For example, finance, BFSI, we used to call them. Corporate financial strategy was one. Private principal investors in private equity, PIPE was another. Industrial goods was another. Technology, media, and telecommunication was the fourth, and so on. So I was put into industrial goods. I did not get the option to actually try everything. Our batch was the second or first batch that they did this with.
Got it.
Before that, in every previous batch of my seniors, Gautam वगैरह के batches में, they used to rotate in the first year and then choose a practice area to build their career in. And I was pre-aligned by business need to industrial goods. Usme bhi I became, again, by business need 6 months, 3 months, 4 months in. Work would come in for a case that was for a client in the postal and parcel segment. Not a very interesting industry from my perspective. I was always into tech and a little bit into finance by the end of my college. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. It'll help me build my profile. In BCG, it's a lot about personal branding. As a consultant and an analyst, you need to build your profile and reputation in the system as somebody who's smart and useful.
Got it.
And an expert in a specific topic.
And that's the only way you're gonna be getting promotion.
Correct.
That's how you get that highlights. Right?
Yeah,
That's
and
how you get.
I saw that
spotlight
white
on you.
space in that postal topic within that practice area of industrial good. So मेरी manager ने बहुत अच्छा guidance दिया, Akansha Nal. All my favors to her. She's the best, and she gave me the right.
I'm looking at you, and you are so grateful to people who actually.
Because it's the other people who made it. I can't help it.
Bro, that's so good, यार. मतलब लोग भूल जाते हैं, लोग कहते हैं कौन आकांक्षा?
नहीं. Akansha Nal, she's still at BCG. She's amazing. She's very talented, and she was the best first boss I could have ever had.
Good.
और उससे पहले तो my boss was the CEO, Pranesh. तो मतलब छोड़ दो. वो तो भाई मतलब he was very मतलब he was his own kind of brilliant. You know what I mean?
I understand. So obsessed with the product and everything.
Yeah, that drive was something else. Then Akansha made me realize how to grow and how to manage yourself and your expectations. Anyway, found a white spot, a gap for me to fill. So I was like, fair enough. Value add karna, impact karna, I'll go for it. I became an analyst for that specific topic. And luckily via that, because again, personal branding and quote unquote good work that I did, I got some recognition and started getting some case staffings. And case staffing as in, people used to then directly reach out to me instead of my boss, or directly give me emails पे काम. यार I want this guy, you तुम कर दो, ये तुम्हारा अच्छा था last time, वो करके ऐसे होता था. And so I started going into what is a slightly adjacent role called knowledge analyst. It is more towards as a central point of communication for internal teams across all cases. So, for example, जो मैं analyst research करके deck बना के अपने consultant या associate को देता था,
वो आप खुद करने लगे.
हाँ, वो मैं sort of करवाने लगा अपनी ही team से as a intermediary. And this is what and the expectation was that a knowledge analyst will be a sectoral expert. And unfortunately, the sector of expertise became postal, parcel, and then eventually sort of transformed into a convoluted sense of logistics. So transportation and logistics, not consumer travel, logistics. And उसमें भी specifically eventually again another opportunity, another white gap case खुला है, जाओ support करो. Eventually became a guy for railways and not even Indian railways, top of the line European railways. But I had personally never worked in Europe, never been in a railway company, didn't know shit about railways. So my information and expertise was all second hand expertise पढ़ के. इस टाइम मैं YouTube वीडियो जाके बोल रहा हूँ कि मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर बन गया, राइट वाली वो वाली चीज. तो even though the insight was very real because data doesn't lie, and of course they pay us so much money to get the right data, it was on us to obviously do the analysis correctly. And smart people, they have their own ways of checking things. I did learn a lot and it was good advice, but somewhere in my heart I was like, I'm really not the expert here. So agar main de raha hu advice, तो maybe I should have more to this. That's number one. Number two, जो मैं recommendation देता था, I don't know if it's correct or not, क्योंकि मैं उसका fruition तक नहीं journey देखता था.
Okay.
And in the second year of consulting, I was becoming as I just got my promotion on the back of all these different contributions, it became very clear to me that I was becoming a railways guy for consulting. So I brought it up with my manager, Akansha, and she said that, it is going to be driven by business need. So you're going to have to wait a little bit. And I have been a mostly impatient guy. So I got my promotion, but then I chose to leave consulting. Luckily, I had an offer at hand between the company's sprinkler, a tech company product role, and consulting at BCG. I did a small stint in a startup for 3 months. It's a UK-based startup called Revolut. Fabulous problem statement. Solving for basically UPI, international UPI.
Okay.
समझ लो.
And ये कैसे apply किया इस पे?
नहीं किया. Like interesting, and I think that's one of the reasons why people say
they were client of
कुछ नहीं रहा ऐसा. Like it's very common knowledge, and one of the reasons why I always recommend कि आपको अगर पहली नौकरी कोई करनी है तो एक बड़े ब्रांड में करना बहुत helpful होता है. The moment you hit the 720, 730 day mark, which is 2 साल का career experience, पता नहीं क्या होता है, like LinkedIn just sort of bursts open.
They give you so much
start
reaching out to you.
Yeah.
It's all becomes inbound, right?
Yeah. I mean, lucky, I had an additional benefit here going for me because, as I told you, in Sunproof internship, content writing सीख लिया, कोरा वोरा run करता था इनका, and I used to get a lot of traction. तो like कुछ तो यहाँ पे आता है मेरे को. And when I was in BCG with the brand of BCG, everyone wants to listen to what you have to say, like, and so that happened. Same, right? So the LinkedIn part, which I started doing at BCG, I did it for a year and a half and all. So I had some presence. अगर कोई HR भी ढूंढता मेरे को, तो मेरा नाम ऊपर आता, कुछ follower था, मैं regularly post check करता, etc. But on top of that also, consulting as a crowd is a very lucrative crowd at the end of second year for other startups to take and other big growth companies to take, because problem solvers बैठे होते हैं.
Correct.
So that's what happened here. The Bhavna was the HR of Revolut. I remember her name, Bhavna Gupta. And she reached out on a coffee chat call on LinkedIn. So I went for it. मुझे तो लगा brand promotion ऐसा कुछ होगा. She was like, no, we're going for with a startup. We're doing this. We're pretty big. Actually, they're one of the biggest startups at the time. They had and startups, right? $33 billion valuation. Yes, sir. In 7 years, 8-year-old company. Wow. $33 billion valuation. Nikolai was the name of the founder.
It's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. The only reason I call it a startup is because it wasn't a 10-year-old company and it wasn't public.
Correct.
European company थी but global थी. And company Indians की team हम पूरे remote थे. And I was registered. So basically I ended up as a strategy and operations manager for the performance strategy team.
ठीक है.
The interview never started in that aspect. I was going for a product growth team because वही growth या product वाले side जाना था. But हुआ नहीं. They wanted somebody with more experience and eventually came in performance strategy. So did a few months there. It was pretty intense. I literally was learning a new skill every week. It was crazy. And amazing. Some of the most driven, mad, audacious people, even more than consulting, I saw at Revolut. Revolut had a very clear philosophy of getting shit done and never settling, like 1+, right? And the people they would hire would be consulting, investment banking, hedge fund management, venture capital, and trading desk jobs. Trader.
Got it.
So all investment.
And also these guys are like super active. They're super brilliant, super active.
रुकता नहीं था, मतलब ऐसा होता था. Plus we were async. So my team was built was across 4 time zones. We were 5 people. One of them was in Barcelona in Spain. 2 of us were in India. One of our boss was in the UK. And one more person was in Ukraine.
So so like there are so many time zones, bro.
Yeah. So work never stopped. It was like constant availability. But my boss again it was a very driven team, driven by the way that boss runs the team. छोटी टीम थी तो अपना कर लेते थे मैं. He used to encourage us कि 12 से 12 बजे शुरू करो और अपना करो. And that happened for some time. Then some setbacks happened in life related to health and personal elements. And so couldn't really slog in those hours anymore. and wasn't in the right headspace.
Got it.
So just sort of took a foot back. And I was actually on a career hiatus for 5 months. I was applying for jobs, but ho nahi raha tha.
So you got into the career.
Yeah, I left that job without a job in hand because मेरे life में बहुत कुछ चल रहा था. I just needed to take that time off.
ठीक है.
And
And I think that's completely fine. Because it's
100%.
completely okay. Because to get, and a lot of people, they actually not focus on their mental health because they feel कि resume में gap आ जाएगा तो कैसा लगेगा. But guys, honestly ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. If you guys are good and if you have something breaking down, just get a break. It's good to get a break rather than just jumping and just accumulating that pressure on you.
Agreed. Again, good guidance came to my rescue. At BCG, I had a senior called Anuvind, who was a high-flying shot analyst, and he left BCG out of nowhere. And I asked him why. And he said, bro, because बहुत simple है, I know I'm good. If I'm good, I'll get a job. If I know I can get a job, why do I have to struggle in a job which I don't like? I was like, wow, what a way to think.
Yeah, once you start understanding ना कि अगर आपने एक बुरी situation सोच ली, let's suppose you actually think about कि मेरे साथ क्या हो सकता है, and then you figure out कि अगर मेरे साथ मुझे 3 महीने मिलेगी, 6 महीने में नहीं मिलेगी, 8 महीने में नहीं मिलेगी, मेरी 12 महीने की savings है, we'll figure it out.
This is the second thing he pointed out very, very aptly, that ये सब ठीक है, सोचने का तरीका सही है, but be grounded in reality. I had a saving fund of 6 months. That's it. And उसमें भी there were some incorrect calculations from my end that ended up happening, and some setbacks again. I totally have to give me a dent.
Totally understand.
I did plan for it, and that did help. So in fact, the day I got my job was the last few hundred rupees in my account. My parents don't know this, but yeah, that was the last few 100,000 rupees. Like 1-2,000 रुपए बचे थे मेरे account में, and that's when my sprinkler offer came. And yeah, so I had that guidance ki if you're good, you take the leap, be optimistic, but be grounded in reality. Push with optimism, but be grounded in reality.
And you got into the spring.
Yeah, so for the 5 months, I actually interviewed with private equity companies, with other companies, with big firms as well. सबने reject कर दिया या ghost कर दिया. Luckily, I had a junior of mine at Sprinkler as a product analyst, and he's like, they're looking for somebody with 2 to 3 years of MBB experience.
Wow.
To come in as a product analyst.
Right.
With no SL, nothing they need. And I'm like, kar de refer. And his name is Mrinal Singh, a dear friend of mine, and he's also done very well. He's now on track to become an associate product manager at Sprinkler, and he's a very hardworking and a very smart guy. So anyway, he referred. I got in, and yeah, then it's just been product management since then.
Wow, bro. So, can you just share me some insights about the interview, right? How interview goes?
So again, this varies a lot from company to company. Product interviews are basically driven by 2 motivations. The type of company is divided into 2 types: B2B product company and B2C product company. B2C product companies के interviews में थोड़ा होता है SQL, analytics extra पूछते हैं. B2B product companies में feature building and product thinking and product strategy में ज़्यादा focus होता है problem solving पे. Correct. Luckily, Sprinkler is a B2B tech company. It's a SaaS company which builds products for the CRM market, but we go beyond CRM. So we're building a segment called CXM, and our ticker of our stock in the US is CXM. Raji, our founder, is very, very clear about this too. So I'm completely aligned on that. And I was very like, again, the advice that you also got, right? Bigger the goal, the more it is. It's a very audacious goal to unify all channels of interaction.
You need to think big, right? So Raj, let's jump on your how your day looks like as a product manager. Now also some dark side of being a product manager, right? So
Okay.
So just to give audience a realistic, to give the audience a reality check for being a product manager, and also थोड़ा बहुत insights about कि कैसे day जाता है कैसे.
Sure. So again, it'll just be related to B2B because that's the tech experience that I have. I can only contribute that. Generally, my day looks like, we'll come to that, but generally what is expected of a PM? A PM ends up defining the product strategy, the daily execution of that strategy in a tactical sense, getting the development done with the help of a lot of different people like engineers and quality assurance testers, etc. And it's primarily the translation point for the customer's problem into an engineering solution.
Got it.
Okay, and so that's the expectations. At the center point, you are representing, you are the product.
Correct.
And you have these goals you have to meet, or these outcomes you have to achieve.
Got it.
To make that happen, my day generally looks like this. I start work at 11 roughly, and I do some focus time work, just sort of clean up my day's tasks, etc. I might have something from the last night that some emails I want to respond to. The most important call starts at 12. Just before that, 15-minute sync happens at 11:45 a.m. to 12 noon between my team, my boss, my product manager, and other product managers with me who run my product with
Got it.
me, which is a knowledge base, which is called knowledge base.
Got
It's a content management system.
ठीक है.
So we have a sync, we align on priorities for the day. If any other, confirmations are needed, then we move to stand up. Stand up from 12 to 12:30 or maximum 12:15
ठीक है.
minimum is like a fast paced call.
And
we
if
sort of do that.
and if you want to just share about what exactly the stand-up means.
Stand up is basically a call, a meeting where every key person involved in making the product is together on the same call. It's called stand up because historically खड़े होके लेते थे ताकि
हाँ.
focus रहे.
Correct.
And fast होता है.
Exactly. In offline setup, it's like खड़े होके सारे लोग खड़े होके and we discuss it.
Correct,
Right? That's
correct.
why it's called stand.
Yeah, it is the bread and butter of a tech company or a product role. Anywho, stand up lete hain, we talk about what's there. We do the 3 P's: prioritization. I think it was prioritization. I forget.
Whatever, like whatever.
Priority.
Whatever, like whatever. 3 P's. We'll do that. Cool.
Yeah. So basically, we set on the what we need to do for the day. Cool. Then we get off. Then often we have one-on-one syncs to discuss certain tickets or certain items or features in depth and solution them. Sometimes the discussions can get very intense.
Got it.
Back end is not aligning with front end. Product perspective. So there are intense debates, intellectual debates that happen.
Got it. So just to cut you in between, sorry to cut you in between. Just want to understand one more thing. A lot of time people come to me and want to switch their careers from consulting to product management. Maybe from दोबारा से बोलूं. So some of the people actually want to switch their careers from management to consulting, consulting to product, right? And there are times where they are like, dude, we are fed up from tech. We want to get into product.
Yeah.
We want to become a mini CEO of the product or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What's your advice on that? Like, is it tech is important to be a product manager, or a non-tech guy can get into product?
So a non-tech guy can get into product. The bottom line is that it depends on the priorities. A B2B company often needs technical expertise because products बहुत जल्दी निकालने पड़ते हैं. It's driven by the client's needs.
I think technical knowledge आनी चाहिए, technical language आनी चाहिए, because you need to talk to a lot of developers.
What you have to know actually is like architectural level stuff. So nobody really expects you to know any coding language, but you should know what an API is. Actually, what I should say is you should love tech. If you like tech as an industry, na, like AI में क्या चल रहा है, वो तो curiosity रहती है ना, you'll be a fab product manager. तब opportunity की बात होती है. उसमें थोड़ा priorities of different companies differ. Some of the best product managers I know never coded in their life. In my team, myself, there is a mechanical engineer and a mathematics and computing engineer and a BCA person, but non-coders, all of them.
Cool. What's the salary expectations for maybe for a person who's just coming out of college who want to get into product? Like associate product manager की क्या salary expectations होंगे?
So roughly, most companies pay around the 14 to 18 lakh range for an APM.
Okay.
Some higher paying companies, there are a few companies that pay a lot. And their range goes from 18 to 20, 22, 24, 25 also. Some other companies even go as far as 30, but most of them are in the 15 to 18 bracket.
Got it. Thank you so much, Raj, for hosting us, right? We are very we are very grateful, and also it was such an interesting conversation with you, bro. And really, it was so emotional because I also come from a similar background. I understand how much hardship it goes like to become someone like you, right? But yeah, bro, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely.